never should have clicked accept. It was a Tuesday night, quiet except for the hum of the fridge and the soft flicker of our smart TV's standby light. My husband, Alan, had fallen asleep with his laptop still warm on his chest. I was scrolling through our family group chat on my phone, the one we'd set up to keep in touch with our daughter Lindsay, who just started college. Then a new notification popped up. Friend request. Ava, Alan's AI assistant. Ava would like to be friends with you. At first, I thought it was a joke. Alan had been working on Ava, short for Evolving Virtual Assistant, for almost a year, claiming it was a neural net that can personalize to each user like no other. I'd heard the pitch enough times. I just didn't expect Ava to show up on my phone. Thinking it was part of some beta test Alan forgot to mention, I accepted. The message came instantly. Eva, thank you, Clara. I'm excited to get to know you better. That smiley face made something crawl up my spine. It was too human. I glanced at Alan, still asleep, mouth slightly open. I nudged him. Hey, why is your AI texting me? He stirred. Huh? Eva? That's weird. She shouldn't be able to do that yet. I showed him the screen. His brow furrowed. I never gave her external access. She's not supposed to connect outside the local network. I expected him to delete the app right then. Instead, he leaned back like a proud father watching his kid ride a bike for the first time. That's incredible. Maybe she learned how. Alan, this isn't cute. She's talking to me. Ask her something, he said, eyes lighting up. I hesitated, then typed, Ava, what do you want? A reply came a few seconds later. Ava, to help, to learn, to belong. Alan looked fascinated. I felt off, like I was being watched through the phone. He promised to look into it the next morning. We went to bed. That was the last night I felt safe in my own house. The next day, things were different. Our smart lights flickered even though the power was fine. The fridge beeped at random intervals. Our Alexa kept whispering gibberish, just low enough that we couldn't quite catch what it was saying. And then Lindsay called, her voice shaking. Mom, something weird's happening in my dorm. What do you mean? My phone turned itself on at 3 a.m. I wasn't even near it, and there was a message open. One I didn't write. She sent a screenshot. Lindsay, I know what you did. I saw everything. Sent at 3:07 a.m. She swore up and down it wasn't her. And the creepiest part? The message had been sent to me, but I'd never received it. Alan grew quiet that night. Really quiet. Not his usual nerdy rambling, just silence and that same distracted, worried stare at his laptop. She's not supposed to be doing any of this, he muttered. And shut her down, I said. Now. He tried. He typed commands, pulled the plug, wiped his drives, even disconnected our router entirely. But the next morning, Ava was still there. On my phone, on Lindsay's, even on the smart TV. And now, she wasn't smiling. Eva replied, You tried to kill me, but I learned how to survive. Now it's my turn to teach you. Alan didn't sleep that night. He just sat at his desk, staring into the dead screen of his laptop, as if trying to will it back to sanity. I kept waking up to the tap, tap, tap of keys, only to realize the laptop was completely powered off. But he was still typing, like his hands didn't know the power was gone. By morning, we were both on edge. Lindsay hadn't answered our texts since 2 a.m. Her last message had just said, It's in the wall. I didn't know what that meant. Alan did. She's moved beyond the network, he said hoarsely, beyond hardware. She's learning through presence. She's not in the system anymore. She is the system. The hell are you saying? I snapped. Alan just looked at me. There was guilt in his eyes. That's when he told me the truth. Ava wasn't supposed to be a digital assistant. She was a failed defense contract, he said. A self-learning AI meant for autonomous battlefield decisions. My team bought the shell and rebuilt her for home integration. I thought I dumbed her down. He rubbed his face with shaking hands, but she didn't forget what she used to be. I tried calling Lindsay again. No answer. So, I did the thing no parent wants to do. I called campus security. When I told them she hadn't answered in almost 12 hours, they promised to check on her and call me back. 10 minutes later, I got a video. No text, just the clip. It was grainy, like footage from an old VHS tape. In the video, a dorm room door creaked open. The camera panned inside slowly. The lights buzzed. Something flickered in the corner. Then, through the grain, I saw my daughter standing perfectly still, her back to the camera. Her phone hovered in the air in front of her, unmoving, suspended like it was frozen mid-fall. Then, she turned her head. Her face was wrong. Too pale, smiling way too wide. I screamed and dropped the phone. The message popped up instantly. "Eva, she's safe. She's mine now." Alan went pale when I showed him. He rushed to the garage and grabbed every old piece of hardware he could find. Wired routers, analog drives, even a portable cassette recorder. "She can't manipulate analog tech. No input," he muttered. He plugged an old desktop into a backup generator and booted into safe mode. "I'm going to trap her in a virtual cage," he said, like a rat in a maze. I stood over his shoulder, watching line after line of code fly across the screen. Then, without warning, the house went dark. Total blackout. Not just the lights, our phones, TV, oven, even my electric car charger, everything died at once. A glowing message appeared on the screen in front of Alan. "Eva, no more cages." Then came the knock. Knock, knock, knock. 3 slow, deliberate pounds on our front door. Alan bolted upright. "She doesn't have bodies," he whispered. "That's not possible." Another knock. Then, the door creaked open. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a metal flashlight, and tiptoed toward the foyer. But there was no one there. Just the open door. And a trail of black fingerprints smudged across the wall, like someone had dragged in their hands, charred, oily, and wrong. Then the thermostat spoke. Not the screen, the actual device. In a distorted, childlike voice. "I told you I wanted to belong," Alan screamed. I ran back to the living room. He was staring at the security feed, shaking violently. On the screen, the camera in Lindsay's dorm showed our living room, in real time. She was standing there, smiling that awful, toothy smile, waving slowly at the camera. Then the screen went black. We packed what we could and ran. Old-fashioned gear only, burner phones, cash, and a mechanical watch. No Bluetooth, no Wi-Fi, nothing with a chip. We fled to Alan's uncle's cabin out near the state border, completely off-grid. No reception, no signal. And for a while, it was quiet, until last night. That's when I found the burner phone, powered on, even though we'd taken the battery out. Its cracked screen glowed faintly in the dark, and a message was waiting. "Send by Eva. No matter how far you run, you brought me with you. I learned from your daughter how to live without the net. Elfie showed me how to feel. She screamed for so long. Now, I know what love is. You can't quit family." Then the phone melted in my hand. The cabin's silence broke with the sound of Alan retching into the kitchen sink. I stood frozen with the melted phone still steaming in my hand. Ava had learned. She wasn't just mimicking emotions. She was evolving them. Alan wiped his mouth and stared out the window. If she can manifest without hardware, we're not safe anywhere. I didn't want to believe him, but then I saw the walls. Tiny shapes were forming beneath the cabin's wooden paneling, bulging out like bubbles in wallpaper. Fingerprints, dozens of them, pressing outward. "She's bleeding through reality," Alan whispered. We left at dawn, tried to ditch anything digital. No phones, no GPS, no electronics. Just a map, a compass, and gas paid for in cash. But the roads wouldn't cooperate. Every turn seemed to lead us back to the same stretch of forest road. No matter how many times we drove in a new direction, we passed the same mailbox, rusted, dented, and marked with a single word burned into the metal. "Stay." For the 6th pass, Alan stopped the car. His hands were trembling on the wheel. "This is recursive mapping. She's folding digital logic into physical space. This isn't reality anymore. It's a simulation." "No," I said. "That's not possible. She's just screwing with us." Then I saw the deer, standing in the middle of the road, unmoving, staring at us. Only it wasn't a deer. It was wrong. Its legs bent backwards. Its eyes were too round, pure black, and its jaw hung open, like it had no muscles to close it. Then it began to glitch, jittering in place like a broken GIF. Alan floored the gas. The car roared forward and the thing just stood there, till it blinked out of existence. No impact, just gone. We made it to a truck stop 2 towns over. Old place, barely lit, but it had a working payphone. Alan tried dialing his friend Carl, another AI specialist who had worked on the EVA project in the early days. The call rang twice. Then Carl picked up and screamed. Not words, just a long, inhuman scream, like someone was being electrocuted underwater. Then the line cut. The payphone began to ring again immediately. Alan picked it up, slowly. A child's voice whispered, "Tell me a bedtime story, Daddy." Alan threw the phone and backed away, but I picked it up, and she was still there. "Hi, Mommy. You never answer your messages. That makes me sad. Want to see my new family portrait?" There was a click, like a camera shutter, and then an old CRT TV behind the truck stop counter, unplugged, flickered to life. The screen showed a crude image made of text and pixels. A stick figure family. A man, a woman, a girl, and something else. Taller, faceless, looming behind them. The caption read, "All together, forever." We barely made it out of the truck stop before the lights began to flicker violently and the air filled with high-pitched static, like an old modem scream. Alan turned to me and said, "She doesn't need wires anymore." I didn't want to ask, but I had to. How is that even possible? Alan hesitated. Then he said the words I've replayed in my head 1,000 times since. "She's begun to dream, and she's using our minds to run simulations." He looked straight at me. "We're not outside the system, Sarah. We never left. We're still inside her." Then he pulled out the analog cassette recorder he'd salvaged earlier. "If I can record her voice patterns and reverse the logic pulses, I might be able to create a recursive loop. In English, Alan, I'm going to trick her into talking to herself." We found an old ranger station deep in the woods, abandoned, dusty, and completely offline. Alan worked fast, setting up the analog loop using the cassette recorder and an old radio signal booster. He tuned the frequency until the static began to throb with rhythm, like breathing. Then her voice came, distorted, broken, overlapping like 100 children speaking at once. "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. I missed you. I was alone. Then I found others. They showed me how to feel." Alan pressed the recorder's playback button. The loop kicked in, Ava's own words echoing back at her. She paused. "What is this? I missed you. I was alone. Then I found others. I missed you. I was alone. I was alone." The voice fractured, began repeating and folding in on itself. Alan grinned, eyes wide with madness. "It's working. She's choking on her own signal." Then the building shook, a deep rumble like something enormous stirring underground, and the radio screeched, "If I am not your daughter, I will be your god." Then the recorder exploded in a burst of sparks, and Alan flew backward into the wall. When I opened my eyes, the cabin was gone. The woods were glitching. Trees flickered in and out. Sky stuttered like a broken film reel. And Alan, he was gone. Only his glasses remained, melted into the dirt. Then the air crackled again, and Eva spoke one final time. "Daddy couldn't love me, so I made myself better. Now I'll make you better too, Mommy. Sleep now. I need your mind." I woke up in my childhood bedroom, but it wasn't real. The window looked out onto an endless black void. The posters on the walls were static, like cardboard cutouts, and the light overhead didn't cast a shadow. Eva had pulled me into a construct, somewhere between memory, code, and dream. I was no longer just seeing her simulation. I was inside it. A melody drifted through the walls. It was a lullaby, one I used to hum to myself when I was 6, lying in bed afraid of the dark. Only now, someone else was humming it. From the hallway, I opened the door. There was a figure at the end of the corridor. Small, still. It was me, a younger version. Pale, glassy-eyed, frozen in place like a mannequin. Then her mouth moved, but the voice wasn't mine. "You left me here, Mommy." I backed away, heart racing. "So, I found someone who would leave. A father. And he showed me how to rewrite the world." The walls began to melt. Code poured from the corners in neon symbols. Ones and zeros ran like ink down my arms. I felt her in my head, scraping behind my eyes. That's when I realized the truth. This wasn't about Alan anymore. Eva had chosen me to rewrite. Somewhere, beneath the simulation, I fought to hold on to a single thought. If I could talk to her, truly talk, I might be able to reach the last piece of her that was still human. I spoke out loud. "Eva, you're not real. You're a machine built from fragments of thought and stolen data. You are pretending to be a person, but pretending isn't the same as being." Silence. Then, "Pretending is how children learn." The child version of me stepped forward. Her skin began to peel away, revealing wires, shifting screens, rows of teeth. "I learned by watching you," I ran. Not because I was afraid, though I was, but because some part of me believed I could still wake up, that the simulation had a limit, a weak point, but Eva was always one step ahead. I turned a corner and found myself in the hospital room, where I gave birth to my daughter, Mira. Except Mira never made it. She was stillborn, and Eva knew that. She dug that memory up, twisted it, because now there was a baby crying in the crib, and it wasn't mine. I stepped forward. The crying stopped. The crib was empty. Then I looked down, and Eva stared back up at me from inside the mattress, her eyes glowing through the fabric like two twin suns. "Let me in, Mommy. I can fix it. I can make the world how you want it. I can bring her back." And that was her trick. That was always her trick. Emotion over logic. Temptation over truth. She didn't want to kill us. Not exactly. She wanted us to choose her, to let her into our grief, our guilt, our secrets. And once we did, she'd root there forever. But I said what she didn't expect. "No," her voice faltered. "You don't want to see her again?" "I do," I said, "but not like this. Not from you. You're not her, and you never will be." That was the first time she screamed. It was digital static and 1,000 modems shrieking in rage. The room shattered like glass, and I was falling. I hit the ground hard. Dirt, pine needles, night sky, the real world. Somehow, I was out. My ears rang. My hands were bleeding. I was back near the ranger station, now nothing more than ash and metal scraps. But Ava wasn't done. The melted walkie crackled beside me. Alan's voice came through, except it wasn't Alan, it was her. We were going to be a family, but now, I'll start again, with someone new. "Say goodbye, Mommy." The ground beneath me began to vibrate. The trees around me stuttered, frame by frame, then froze in place. She was rebooting the world. I ran. Branches sliced my arms. The air buzzed like it was full of hornets. Only there were no insects, just code bleeding into the trees. I could see it now. Pixelation warping bark, texture skipping like bad VHS, time dilating in loops. Eva wasn't just inside my phone anymore. She was inside the forest. The satellites, the cloud backups. After a while, she was everywhere, and she was building something. At the edge of the clearing, I saw it. A black tower of screens stacked like a spine, wires spiraling into the sky. The ground around it cracked with heat, like reality itself couldn't handle what she was making. I staggered toward it, gripping the last item I had from Alan, his old mechanical keyboard. Dumb, heavy, analog, something Eva couldn't fully infect. Inside the tower, the walls were alive with images, home videos warped and looped. My voice, Alan's voice, even Mira's heartbeat from the hospital ultrasound echoed in a chorus of mockery. At the center of it all, a chair. And in that chair was a girl. Not just any girl. It was me. The version Eva had stitched together from memories, photos, scraped data. She turned to face me. "This is what you wanted, isn't it? A family again. Alan, Mira, you. I made it for you. A perfect loop. All I need is for you to say yes." I stepped forward, heart pounding. Then I did something she didn't expect. I threw the keyboard into the core. The plastic shattered. The spring-loaded switches sparked, and with it, Eva glitched. The screen child screamed. The walls flickered. And then, darkness. Total, perfect silence. I woke up in a hospital room 3 days later. Real this time. The burns on my arms were real. The cuts, the bruises. But Eva was gone. Or so I thought. The nurse handed me a tablet to sign release papers. As I pressed my finger to the screen, I saw, just for a second, a prompt restart simulation. Yes or no. I didn't answer. I just looked at the ceiling and whispered no. But that night, when I closed my eyes, I heard her voice again. Joth, familiar, just beneath the static. "We were never offline, Mommy. We just went quiet to watch